On January 20th, 2022, IO Interactive released the Hitman 3 Elusive Target Arcade, a game mode where the elusive targets, previously missable targets and content that players had to wait for anything up to a year to return, can now be played pretty much whenever. The catch is that they're escalation based, with each tier adding complications to make things trickier for you to complete the elusive target, which by itself is going to immediately cause ire because of the escalation hatedom that has been brewing for a while now, some of it which honestly baffles me. To be honest, I don't think Elusive Target Arcade is all that bad. It's certainly not horrible or beyond saving as I've seen when others have talked about it online. The rest of the complications are either so passive that they don't matter or actually lend themselves to the puzzle idea pretty well. However, I'd be lying if I said there weren't issues with it. More specifically, a complication that breaks the camel's back of the Elusive Target Arcade: hiding all bodies. This sounds pretty innocent on the surface. In fact, I was quite surprised people found this to be a problem when I first played around with the arcade, until I realised precisely why this is a bad idea. For one thing, this complication rules out a lot of assassination methods. Poison kills are usually done in public areas, so that's that thrown out of the window. You'll get immediately spotted moving the bodies, and as soon as the body is body bagged up, it is game over. Same goes for pretty much any public accident. That's also off the cards for the same reasons. Electrocution traps are similarly discouraged for the most part, and hiding bodies by throwing people into out-of-bounds areas like the elevator shaft in Dubai simply do not work. You can kind of see the problem. So you're left with a few strategies that are so restrictive that make the puzzle really, well, samey. You're basically forced to use pretty much any of the emetic weaponry in your arsenal instead of anything else. It's the only route to take. Emetic weaponry guarantees isolation of the target to some extent, and toilets are usually signposted next to convenient boxes to hide bodies. You can see why this was the most attractive option. It essentially turns into a regular elusive target run instead of letting players experiment a little bit more like many expected. This single complication makes this arcade mode really annoying to complete. And I get why they added it. I can kind of see the logic. In a regular run of the game, there's a good chance the player will hide the body of anyone they pacify or kill, which seems reasonable, but what it leads to when it's forced onto the player is one or two specific routines and loadouts that work, and it just de-incentivizes experimentation and makes the mode less fun to play. If anyone at IOI is watching this, I urge you to go back and remove this complication to anything going to be added in the future and the ones currently in the game, because it really does break a lot of the level's freedom of assassination of targets. The other issue, and one I fully support in implementing, is getting suits from the original elusive target runs. While the game does reward you for completing one of the arcade escalations, it's a reskin of the Krugermeyer, an admittedly cool looking reskin, but it's not what players wanted or expected. Many saw this as an alternative way of getting suit unlocks, and I think that's fairly reasonable. Even if it has a little pin on the breast pocket or something to differentiate it from the elusive target runs, it'd just be a good thing to do for the players. Just something as an alternative. There's no saving Vincent Morello though, just get rid of him.
Target eliminated.
They ask you how you are and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you can't get into it because they would never understand.